In this session, we are going to discuss the decision rules. You remember that we discussed that you have decision makers who are risk seekers, then you have people who are risk neutral, then there are people who are risk averse, and so on. So we discussed different attitudes to risk. Um, Continuing with the same thought, there are three types of decisions which we'll try to learn here. One is called Maximin, one is called Maximax, and one is called Minimax Regret. So, the first session we are going to discuss Maximin. Maximin means maximizing the minimum. So, it is maximizing the minimum. Then, another one which we will do in the next session would be Maximax, which is maximizing the maximum. So, let's start with Maximin first. Maximizing the minimum, which means that choosing the best out of the worst. So you see that what are the minimum outcomes, what are the three worst outcomes, and then from those three or two or four, whatever, from all the worst outcomes, you pick up the best one. So it is like the best among the worst. So the maximum decision rule is that a decision maker should select the alternative that offers the least unattractive worst outcome. So least unattractive. Least unattractive means the best one among them. So you have some worst outcomes. Among those worst outcomes, you pick up the least unattractive, which means best of the worst. This would mean choosing the alternative that maximizes the minimum profits, maximizing the minimum profits. So maximum decisions maximize the minimum return of each decision and apply to a risk averse decision maker. So this is about those risk averse decision making when you are always thinking about the worst thing. Okay, what worst can happen to you? If I go for product A, this is my worst outcome. If I go for product B, this is my worst outcome. If I go for product C, this is my worst outcome. So you pick up the three worst outcomes, and then among those three worst outcomes, you see which is the best out of them, which is the better out of them, and that you pick up. It has limitation. Number one, it does not consider the probability of each outcome occurring, which means that maybe you are talking about the worst outcome, but it has a very little probability. So you are taking a decision which is actually focusing at it's the most pessimistic approach. You are taking the worst outcome, even though it has a very little possibility, and then you are taking the decision. It is conservative. Yeah, it is conservative. You are not thinking about maximizing the profits. You are trying to play safe. And you are just saying that, okay, I'll see all the worst outcomes and then I will take the best among the worst. So, example, suppose a manager is trying to decide which of three mutually exclusive projects to undertake. Mutually exclusive mean that you have to pick up one only. Um, each of the projects could lead to varying net profits, which are classified as 1, 2, and 3. So you will have each outcome will have three levels of profit 1, 2, and 3. The manager has constructed the following payoff table and which product would be chosen under maximum. So if you are having an approach of maximum, which means maximizing the minimum, which one you should be doing. So if we say that we have got a project A, and in project A, it looks like that this is, option 1, 2, 3. This is the worst outcome. This is the good outcome. This is the best outcome. So if you start project A, the worst outcome is 50,000. Good is 65. And if things, work out, the best outcome is 80,000. Then for project B, you've got 70, 60, 75. Then for project C, you have got 90, 80, and 55. So you see that, okay, if I think about project A, what is the worst outcome? This is the worst outcome. For project B, this is the worst outcome. For project C, this is the worst outcome. So you ignore all others and you take these three. And then among these three, which one is the best one? And remember that we are talking about profits. These are not costs. These are profit. So a bigger one is always the best one. So among these all three, which are the worst outcomes, this is the best one. So we took up, we took out the three minimum, And then we took the maximum from there. And that's why we call it maximizing the minimum. So we took all three minimums. And then among the three minimums, we say which is the maximum, which is the most beneficial. So this is the most beneficial. We call it. So if you have this, so they say that this is the payoff table. Tell me what you should be doing. Should you take project A or B or C, having the approach of Maximin? So with Maximin approach, you should be going for project B. For Maximin approach, maximizing the minimum, you pick up project A, B, C, all three, the worst outcomes. Among the worst ones, this is the best one, and this is project B. You say, I'll go for project B because this is, my the best outcome among the worst. This is Maximin. You do have another one which is very much related to. I told you that there are three: Maximin, Maximax, and Minimax regret. Maximin, we just did it. It was very easy. The second one is Maximax. It is also going to be very easy. But Minimax regret, which is the third one, that is actually a little bit more complicated. Maximin and Maximax are so simple. If you go for Maximax decision rule, the name says it all: maximize the maximum. So here you are not thinking about the worst outcomes, you are talking about the best outcomes, the three best outcomes. And then among those three best outcomes, you pick up the best of the best. So here in Maximin, I was doing the best of the worst. In Maximax, I'll do the best of the best. So I'll see what are the three best possible outcomes. And then among those three possible best outcomes, which is, you know, best of all. And the best of all I'm going to take. And this is actually the risk taker attitude. This is going to be the best of the best. And this is for the risk, how to say, the risk taker. Remember, you have risk averse managers and risk takers. So Maximin was risk averse. Maximax is risk taker. Maximus criteria looks at the best possible result. It means maximize the maximum profit. The decision with this rule is to choose the option that could provide the maximum possible profit. Maximum decision: aim for the best possible return, apply to risk-seeking decision makers. Limitation, again, that we do not consider the probability. We don't know. We say, okay, we are taking this one, but maybe the probability is very little. I'll go back to the same table. If I have to pick up Maximax from here. So when I was doing Maximin, I picked up the three worst outcomes among here. So I picked up 50, 60, 55. So project A can give 50, 65, 80. I said, what is the worst one? And then from worst, I picked up the best. This was Maximin. But if I'm doing Maximax, which means maximizing the maximum, so I say for project A, what is the best outcome? 80,000. For project B, which is the best outcome? 75,000. For project C, which is the best outcome? 90,000. Now, among these, what is the maximum? 90. So go for project C. So if you have a risk-averse manager, the risk-averse manager told you to go for project B, risk-averse, who was doing Maximin. But the guy who is doing Maximax, which is a risk-taking manager, he says go for project C because you might make $90,000. He's looking for maximizing the profits. He's a risk-taker manager. And actually, he ignored that, okay, 90,000, but what is the probability? Maybe that is only 5%, but he still want to play the bet. He says go for that. It has an option of getting 90,000. So let's go for C and see if we can make 90,000 or not. So he just also ignored the probability. So Maximin and Maximax, they both are on the opposite sides and they both ignore the probabilities. These were rather simple ones. These two rules, decisions, Maximin and Maximax. Next one, which we are going to do, is actually Minimax regret, and that would require a bit more working, and it could become a little bit more complex. We'll do it in a while. Minimax regret decision rule.